All right, you're up.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your old buddy Chewie, and I am back tonight once again with my brother from another mother, the one and the only Mr. Pip. How are you, sir?
I'm great. I'm happy to be back. I must have passed my initial audition because I have been invited back for a second casting call for the 406 North Lane vlog
Oh,
episode.
as far as I'm concerned, this is the default version of this show with the two of us.
Nice.
Not with me by myself. So. So yeah, we actually have a topic this evening. And I will let you introduce it because you called the ball, so I'll give it to you. Go for it.
Yeah. So man, there were so many to choose from because as Chewie explained in previous episode or in the previous episode, we've known each other for decades at this point, 2.5 decades if my math is right, and we have a lot of overlapping hobbies and interests, and I can certainly thank him for his involvement in getting me into some of these things. So music is one of those things that I'm very, very passionate about as a fan, and I play a little bit myself, but I just love music, and that's certainly one area that him and I have crossed paths on many times. So tonight's topics are going to be, or tonight's top 5 list is going to be the top 5 rock power ballads of all time. Now we had a little discussion ahead of time, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw out the range a little bit. It's not going to be just 80s glam rock, which is sort of the go-to, but we're going to stretch it into the 90s a little bit to allow for a little bit more diversity in the list, and we'll see where things go.
Awesome. I'm very excited about this one. This is one of those conversations that we've been having over beers for literally probably 2.5 decades now, right?
Exactly. And it should be noted that we talked about that these are our lists today, but tomorrow these lists may be drastically different because we listen to these bands all the time.
Yes.
And these songs. So maybe we'll do this again in a month and see if our lists are anywhere near what they were before. Yep. But that's always a flavor of the day kind of thing.
Would you? It's your topic. Would you like to go first with number 5?
Well, before we kick off, I'd like to know what's your beverage of choice this evening.
My beverage of choice this evening is it's whiskey. It is and as a matter of fact, it is Elijah Craig's Small Batch. And the reason I know that is last Friday night I had, and I think I mentioned it on the show, a buddy of mine had a bourbon tasting event. And so there was about 6 or 7 of us, and we all went and we took a bottle or 2 of bourbon, and we did some tasting. That was last Friday night. And this is one of the bottles that I took, and I really, really enjoyed it. So nice. I'm drinking it tonight. How about yourself, sir?
Well, tonight, one of the things that you and I certainly differ on is our taste in beverages when it comes to the liquors. And I'm a clear guy, whereas you usually have a little bit of brown in your drink. Mine is always clear. I'm a gin guy, so I have. Tonight I'm actually trying Ryan Reynolds' Aviation gin.
Oh, nice.
Which is good. I like it. I'm not yet a gin connoisseur. I usually stick with Hendrick's. That's my go-to, and I usually just have it straight with a couple blue cheese stuffed olives dumped in there, and that's pretty much it. About 3 fingers of it. So
nice. Are you just drinking it straight tonight?
Yep, drinking it straight out of a Yeti with a couple ice cubes. Keep it nice and chilled. So
nice. I love it.
All right, well, without further ado, let's get this thing rolling. So my first choice, my number 5 choice is Sister Christian by Night Ranger. One of my absolute, these are all my favorites, but this is one of my absolute favorite power ballads. This came off of the Midnight Madness album that they put out in 1984. It was written by founding member Kelly Keagy, who also sings the song, which is, a lot of people may not know that Night Rangers, Jack Blades from Night Ranger is the one that sings a lot of their more popular songs like Don't Tell Me You Love Me and You Can Still Rock in America and The Secret of My Success, which is a song you and I enjoy very much. But Kelly Keagy, who is the drummer, is actually the one that wrote and sang Sister Christian. He wrote it about his sister, whose name is Christy, I guess. And there was a lot of confusion in the band when they were trying to write it and sing it, and his sister Christy just didn't really sound good, so they renamed it to Sister Christian. But I think the thing that really hooked me on this song and really brought me in was the very famously tense firecracker scene in Boogie Nights, which is just absolutely. Let's do a top 5 greatest moments about Boogie Nights vlog sometime in the future, because that movie was always my go-to. Come home drunk from the bars, let's put on Boogie Nights and just watch it until we pass out, because it's just
holds up so well. I actually just watched it relatively recently.
Right?
I mean, since it's a period piece, right? It holds up really, really well.
Absolutely. And from an acting perspective, I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman, one of my favorite actors in the world, is so good in that movie. But that scene at the end where that kid is running around, throwing off firecrackers, and Alfred Molina in his robe, half dressed, and you just have no idea what's going to happen, and it's super intense. And that song is kind of weirdly out of place, but yet makes that scene so cool and powerful. So yeah, that's my number 5, Sister Christian by Night Ranger.
Nice. It's funny. I don't know. I certainly was introduced to that song before that movie. Absolutely. But that movie probably, which is kind of crazy to say, that's probably where it kind of came into my lexicon, right?
Yeah.
Or it came into
probably same for me.
Yeah. So yeah, good call. Very, very good way to start us off. That's awesome.
All right.
All right. So my number 5 is from 1989. It comes from a band named Warrant. And it comes from the album Dirty, Rotten, Filthy, Stinking Rich.
Very familiar.
There's actually 2 what I would consider really, really good ballads on this album. I go with what I think is probably the lesser known of the 2, called Sometimes She Cries.
Fantastic.
The other one, being Heaven. Sometimes She Cries, I think, charted at number 11 or so on the mainstream rock charts, maybe 20 or so on the Billboard Top 100. Janie Lane, the singer of Warrant, is really, I think, one of the most underrated vocalists in this era. I think he just sings. He's got a very powerful voice. I'm a big lyrics guy. If you've ever read my blog or whatever, I'm a huge into lyrics. And Sometimes She Cries is, I couldn't even tell you what it's about. I didn't do a whole lot of research, but just that song to me it screams, roller skating in the 80s and school dances and slow dances and that kind of stuff. So it's certainly up there.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a fantastic pick, because I wouldn't be surprised if a Warrant song ended up on my list somewhere too. But Janie was a really, I'd have to say, at the time when I was really getting into this music, in the late 80s, early 90s, Warrant was one of my favorites, because Dirty, Rotten, Filthy, Stinking Rich and Cherry Pie, from beginning to end, are both really, really good albums. And Janie, as a songwriter, was really underrated. He really was. I thought, he gets kind of that rap as being the guy who wrote Cherry Pie, which is certainly not anything that requires a tremendous IQ. But if you really dig deeper into some of the stuff that he wrote, I just thought it was really good and had some really legitimate talent. Rest in peace. It's unfortunate that he's not with us anymore. But I couldn't agree more. I think that's a great one.
Yeah, I knew it was coming, but you've already tipped your hand at one of your songs. I can guarantee you there's going to be an overlap, but that's fine. That's good.
Yeah,
it's a great song.
I can't really. I have a shitty poker face. What can I say?
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. All right. What's your number 4, sir?
So yeah, next up, number 4 comes out of the year 1983 from the album Frontiers. It is the quintessential power ballad song. It's Faithfully by Journey. I think that this song is so amazing and really well written. And Steve Perry might be the absolute most amazing vocalist who has ever walked this planet. I mean, between him and Sam Cooke, who is another favorite of mine, much different generations, but very similar types of voices, and could sing so well. This song peaked at number 12, which was really kind of surprising to me, because I feel like it was a huge hit. But the one thing that I think is really interesting about Faithfully is that there's I don't think it's even an urban legend, but it's a true story that Prince actually called Jonathan Cain, who is the keyboardist and one of the original members of Journey, to ask permission to write a song with a very similar chord progression that ended up being Purple Rain.
Oh wow,
And
that's cool.
he didn't have to ask, but he called to talk to him and basically say, look, I'm putting this ballad together, and it sounds a lot like Faithfully, and I I don't want you to sue me for it, basically. And of course the guys gave him permission, and Prince is just obviously heralded as one of the greatest of everything of all time, and rightfully so. But I thought that was a really cool bit of trivia, and hopefully we get to hear Steve Perry sing this song again someday. But if we don't, then it's just fantastic. It's a great song.
Nice. Okay, so number 4 for me is it. It's funny. I'm looking through. Most of mine are like real late 80s and the first couple of years of 90, right?
Sure.
This one is 1990. It comes from an album called Last of the Runaways. It's by a band called Giant, and it is called I'll See You in My Dreams.
Holy shit, that is a pull right there, man.
This album, or this song, it is the guy that sings it, and I think his name is it's Dan Huff is who sings it. And this is one of those songs where the range of this guy singing is just phenomenal. It's just got a killer melody to it. It's got an awesome guitar solo. It's one of these songs that you don't hear, every single time they do an 80 playback weekend, but or 90s, whatever. But it's from a lyrics perspective, it's speaking to this guy that broke up with a girl, and he's kind of haunted by her in his dreams. And it's a really good song. So when Matt and I met, I was in a long distance relationship, right? And so I turned a lot towards music, right? I turned towards, I was missing my girl, and that girl happens to be my wife now. But so music to me and lyrics, especially when, you're talking about songs of the heart and breakup songs and get together songs and those kind of things. And this one really spoke to me. This one is one of my favorites.
I thought for a split second you were going to say when we met, we listened to the song and we slow danced to it together, but maybe one night after a few beers, which still may or may not have happened. I can't confirm or deny. That's what 25 years of drinking through college will do.
It's funny. But I'm looking at Wikipedia right now, and I did not know this. In 2011, the glam metal band Bullet Boys covered this song. So I will have to go look at that on their 2011 album Rocked and Ripped.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't.
I can say I don't know much about Giant, but the first time I probably heard that song was probably when I got satellite radio and listened pretty religiously to Hair Nation, because that does come on there. Every once in a while they'll play a band that I have to look at what it is. Very rarely to this point do I not know the songs that they're playing, but that is a good one. That is the vocals on that song are really strong, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So all right, what's up number 3 for you?
Moving along, number 3, this band has become probably launched up underneath Van Halen is probably I don't know. Again, these change on a day-to-day basis, but I find myself listening to this band constantly, all the time, because I just think they have the best pop rock music that has ever been created. And it's Def Leppard, and it's When Love and Hate Collide, which is probably not one of their most it's sort of popular. It's
not Love Bites.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Love Bites. It's not Hysteria. It's not, it didn't come off of either one of their two most popular albums, Pyromania or Hysteria. But the interesting thing about this song is that it was written for the follow-up for Hysteria, which was called Adrenalize, which people know from Let's Get Rocked and Make Love Like a Man and stuff like that. Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad? That's another pretty popular ballad they have. This was written for that album, but never really made the cut. It ended up getting released on their greatest hits album called Vault, which came out in 1995, which was a pretty solid album. That might have actually been the first one I ever got of theirs, and then just sort of backtracked from there, which is a very popular thing that I did. But one of the neat things, and a neat little bit of trivia, and I can show it to you right now. I'm a vinyl collector these days, and this Def Leppard Rarities album has a version of this song, which is the original demo from it. It is actually the last known piece of music that Steve Clark played guitar on before he died. He recorded a version of this song with him playing solo on it, and it's the last thing that they ever have Steve Clark on record, literally doing. So it's really cool. This box set that I have. I won't share how much money I paid for it, but it's a Def Leppard box set that has Adrenalize and Retroactive and Euphoria, I believe, with a couple extra records in there that include a bunch of rarities and some live cuts. It's really cool. That's should awesome. Show you how big of a fan. I bought the second Def Leppard box set of vinyls, which doesn't even have their super popular album. So
that's awesome.
Anyways, that's my number 3, When Love and Hate Collide by Def Leppard.
All right. So my number 3 is another one that is kind of in the same vein as I'll See You in My Dreams by Giant. It's by a band. It's 1990. It's by a band called Steelheart.
And it's this is great. I knew it was coming. I fucking knew it was coming, man.
Yeah, I'll Never Let You Go is another kind of sappy love ballad, right? It is sung by a guy. I'm gonna butcher his name.
I can't even pronounce his name.
It's like Miljenko Macevic. He's this like Croatian singer, and the video for this song, this dude has jeans on that are so tight you can see his pulse. It's ridiculous. But you know, talk about range, right? I mentioned the range of the guy from Giant. This dude is insane. I mean, it is. There's a note towards the end of this song that he holds and holds and holds forever. I think this is probably one of the very few Steelheart songs that anybody ever knows. I think this one peaked right around the mid-20s, maybe 22, 23 at the Billboard Top 100. Again, just one of those songs that's got an awesome melody to it. The vocals are amazing. The song, you know, the story that it tells is outstanding. Again, off the, you know, not one that you will typically find on an 80s throwback, 90s throwback weekend, but certainly one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, that's a great choice, and I had suspected that would end up on your list somewhere. Also, and I'm sure you know this, but I'll share this with our 406 audience. That lead singer, whose name I will not attempt to butcher, is also the one that sang on some of the songs on the for Steel Dragon on the Rockstar soundtrack. Most notably, "We All Die Young," I think is the name of the song. Yeah. And you can tell immediately if you listen to that song, as soon as he gets to the either the bridge or the end of the first verse or whatever it is, when he really starts letting go, it's like, oh yeah, I know who that guy is.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Unmistakable. For sure. Yeah. But yes, that's a solid choice. That's a really
you know, I'll tell you that movie. You know, if you're not familiar, it stars Mark Wahlberg, and it essentially tells the story of Tim Ripper Owens, who became the lead singer of Judas Priest. Right. Essentially, this guy, the band is looking for a replacement lead singer. They find this guy that's in a cover band, and he sounds just like the singer, and he becomes the lead singer. You know, again, that same story was Tim Ripper Owens from Judas Priest. Journey kind of went through something similar to that. I can't remember the guy's name when they replaced Steve Perry. But that movie also stars Jennifer Aniston, who looks amazing in that movie. You know, I think gets a lot of shit, but if you go back to it and you look at it now, I think it's really, really good. It also contains one of my all-time favorite songs. It won't make this list only because it's too old. It's called "Colorful" by the Verve Pipe. It is It's a really slow kind of melodramatic ballad right at the very end of the movie. Worth checking out if you've never heard it. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No. All good stuff. I agree. All that stuff is great. All right. So I guess we're at number 2 at this point, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is where the big guns start coming out. So, number 2 is going to be Zero. Well, it may be a surprise for you that I put it at number 2, if anything, but number 2 is When It's Love by Van Halen, because God damn, man, what a great song that is. It's just a great song. Off of OU812, 1989, the second album with Sammy. The second album in as many albums that went number 1 for Van Halen. They had a lot of success when Sammy joined the band. You and I will absolutely do a Van Halen flavored one of these sometime in the near future. But this song is just fantastic. I've always really loved it. And he had already done. Sammy's sort of notorious for writing cheesy songs that have the word love in them, because the first album that he did with the band had Why Can't This Be Love, and Love Walks In. So When It's Love is the next one in line. But I don't know, there's just something that's so complimentary about the keyboards in the song, and the guitar and everything just sounds very well produced. And then the video was fun because they shot it at the Cabo Wabo. And it's very simple. It couldn't have cost more than $20 to shoot that thing, because it's just the band. But I mean, my favorite memory for this song will and always be you and I being at the Vogue. Or no, not the Vogue. Oh God, at Mars when we graduated, and you talked your buddy into playing this song in the middle of a crowded dance floor at Mars, which is typically a kind of dance club, and all of a sudden, When It's Love by Van Halen comes on, and they're throwing the video up there too. And I swear to God, 150 people just stopped and went, "What the hell is this?" Like, nobody knew what was going on. Mind you, again, 1989, and this was 1990 or 1998, I think, when we were doing this. So well after that, almost many years later, anyways. And we essentially air guitared and emulated Eddie and Sammy, through the whole thing, like from the head shake to the, everything that those guys did. It was so much fun. And it's just I know that song is 5 minutes and 36 seconds long, because it's just my favorite Van Halen ballad of all time. So that's my number 2.
It is, that's one of those songs that, it's funny. I don't have that on my list. I guess I don't. It's one of my all-time favorite songs, not just one of my all-time favorite Van Halen songs. I guess I don't consider it a ballad, but you're right. It's a through and through love song. It's amazing.
What's interesting is that I love 5150. You love OU812. Yep. I love When It's Love, but you love Love Walks In. So it's sort of like this little meshed thing.
And actually, I guess now that I think about it, my favorite, we could do an entire list of just favorite Van Halen songs, but my favorite Van Halen love song would probably be Not Enough. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. That's a fantastic song. Yeah, which again came 2 or 3 albums later. But anyways, okay. Yeah, I'm already thinking about the Van Halen episode.
Oh yeah. There's going to be some really good material there.
So I have I've kind of gone off the beaten trail a little bit for 5, 4, and 3. 2 and 1 are directly back on the beaten path. They are songs that are on every single ballad album you'll ever see. I really struggled with which one to put 2 and which one to put 1. I went with number 2. I went with the Skid Row classic "I Remember You." Came out in November 1989. It was recorded in 1988. I think, let's see, it was I think written by Rachel Bolan and Snake Sabo, obviously sung by the one and only Sebastian Bach. I think it reached maybe number 5 or number 6. this is one of those videos that was always, you're watching Headbangers Ball or, the top 10 on MTV back when MTV played videos. This song to me is the epitome of power ballad, right? I mean, it's loud. It's got tells an amazing story. Sebastian Bach, that dude sings like no other. He may not have the range like some of these other guys that I've mentioned, but even to this day, I mean,
oh my God,
you're talking about guys that at this point are in their 60s and 70s. Sebastian still brings it, man. I mean, his voice is his instrument. And I got to say, and way back in the day, I remember having a conversation with my mother. I'm probably in 9th grade or 8th grade. I was like, Mom, I want my hair just like that, like Sebastian Bach. And it was just long and straight and kind of halfway down his back.
Still going for it, I see.
Yeah, I'm getting there, right? But yeah, I remember You as one of those songs that if it's on, I cannot not listen to it, right? And it will shuffle through my iTunes or my whatever, and I never skip it. I always listen to it every single time.
For those that are fans of that song, I would highly recommend. Sebastian put out a live album. I think it was towards the end of '99. It's called Bringing Bach Alive. Like, instead of Bringing Them Back Alive, it's Bringing Bach Alive. And it's a huge, I mean, it's got like 16 songs on it, but his version of that song on that album will absolutely blow your mind when you listen to the way that he sings and all the fills that he does with his vocals. It is so, so, so good. I mean, it's powerful. So I would highly recommend anybody who hasn't heard that version of it, go out and find it. It should be on your typical digital retailers, but you can certainly find it on YouTube if it's not there.
All right, here we go. Number 1, what you got?
All right. Well, I mean, I sort of tipped it, and go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, do you want to do your honorable mentions, or do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll do my honorable mention, but you already spoiled my honorable mention. I honestly thought we might both have Steelheart as an honorable mention, but
okay.
That's exactly what I put in there, and I put that there for a couple of reasons. First of all, I completely agree with your assessment. I think vocally, it's hard to listen to that song and not just be completely in awe of any human being who could do what he does. I mean, there are not a lot of vocalists out there that you're just totally blown away by what they're doing, whether or not you even like it. It's impressive. But it ended up on this list partially because, again, most of these have some sort of memory with you in some way, shape, or form, and this is no exception because I sort of remember, was it my last trip to Cleveland, or was it one of the last couple trips to Cleveland where we were maybe slightly buzzed and on our way home from a brewery, and this song came on and we just both belted it out as if we were this guy, but very clearly not this guy, and it was so terrible. But I'm a big believer in that when I get a few drinks in me, I can hit these notes, especially if I can warm up for a second or two. And we didn't. We missed them by 1.5 miles, but it was a really fun way to kill some time for sure.
Yes. All right.
But yeah, so number 1, or do you want to go with your honorable mention?
Well, so I have 3 honorable mentions. Okay. I will go.
Cheers.
Well, okay. I tell you what I'll do. I will bet my paycheck that one of them is your number 1. So I'm not.
No, I already gave you the band, so yeah, you can probably. Well, I don't know. I might be willing to take your paycheck, but
I'll skip that one. Oh, so my other one though is actually a 1989 song by Phil Collins. Believe it or not,
okay.
It's off the But Seriously album, and it's called Colors. It is one of those songs. Unless you're a Phil Collins song, you probably don't know it, or a Phil Collins fan. It is, again, it's one of those, he tells a story. Again, I'm big into lyrics. This is one of those, and I'm trying to find it here real quick, because I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, it says it's a politically themed song condemning apartheid in South Africa and displays a progressive rock influence. It is, it's Wow, it's a powerful song, not just from a lyrics perspective, but the melodies in it, and I think even to this day, I think Phil Collins is one of the best singer songwriters out there, from his time in Genesis, and then obviously his time as a singles um, writer. Um, yeah, it's Colors. It's well worth listening to if you've never checked it out.
Right on. I'm not familiar with it. I
Yeah,
did not expect you to pull a song that I'd never heard of
yeah,
for this list. At least it wasn't in the top five. That
right.
redeemed my ego a little bit.
All right, go for it. I know it. I know it's coming. I can't wait.
All right. Well, you know the band. You may not. You may know the song. You may not. This again with Warrant. Like it's sort of a shuffling of different songs for them because I honestly feel like they were sort of the best packaged band in terms of good rock songs and good ballads. And for me, Heaven was my favorite one from that time frame. It's just it's the epitome of a power ballad. I picture the video in my head when they're all just kind of swaying back and forth, and you know the all that stuff. It was just such a good song. And you know, I won't pretend to be able to sing or play like any of these bands that I've named, but that's one that I like to play on my guitar a little bit because it's just it's fun. It's fairly easy, and I like the lyrics. I think that he tells a story, and it sort of follows a very formulaic um, you know, musical approach where you know, the song is tuned down and they sing through most of it, and then they bump it up a half step at the end to give it this sort of grand crescendo. And this one actually, I think if I remember right, this one bumps up so it bumps up a half step and then it bumps up another half
Yeah,
step to just
yeah.
kind of like keep pushing it up. And you know, this was a #1 song on the Billboard Top 40, and I've already sort of, you know, gushed about Janie Lane and my affection for him. And so yeah, that's Heaven had to get up there. There's never a time in my life where I've changed this song. And my favorite part of the whole song is the very end of it when he sort of does that little vocal outro.
Yeah.
You know, like Sammy kind of does something similar on Love Walks In. Yeah, any song that has like a really good, you know, like some kind of like trail off vocal is just something that's fun. It's just a nice little cherry on top of everything. So
Nice.
Heaven from Warrant, Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich in 1989.
Nice. So I'll be honest with you. You would have gotten my paycheck because that was not the song. I was going with Blind Faith.
You were going to go with Blind Faith, and that was a really hard one to not put on my list.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, but that was, you know, tomorrow it might be there.
Right.
Probably.
Exactly. So I don't know if you remember when I gave my toast at your wedding.
It sounds familiar. Yeah, I think I was there.
I made sure to make a Blind Faith reference in that toast. Yeah, that song. Good God. I mean, Janie Lane and Warren, they just knocked out ballad after ballad after ballad. Yeah, awesome pick. Awesome
Yeah.
pick.
Thanks.
Okay, so my #1, you know, 1988, Poison, Open Up and Say Ah. Every Rose Has Its Thorn. I mean, you know,
Solid choice.
from the beginning of that song when you hear Bret Michaels, you know, and he's just smiling, right? And you know, this is another one of those that you know, tells the story of heartbreak, tells the story of a relationship gone bad. It is again, I mean, this song, every time I hear it, you know, starts out acoustic guitar, and you know, again, just brings me back to that time, and it's just, yeah, it's an amazing song. Again, another one that I never turn, brings me back to roller skating, brings me back to slow dances in 8th grade. Just an awesome song. So
That's a fantastic pick, and that one, I have to say, unlike almost everything else on my list, and probably most of them on your list, there are not a lot of these that I've had the pleasure of actually seeing live. So Van Halen, I have When It's Love. I've heard that song live. I guess I've heard most of these live, but not necessarily in some of the same incarnations. But Poison is one of those bands that they don't get a lot of respect because they come out of an era of ill repute with, you know, hair bands and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like they get shit on a lot, to be honest. And I won't contend that they're writing Bob Dylan-esque, you know, level, you know, lyrical songs, but you know, Bret Michaels is fun, and they as a live band are a band that I still go to see to this day if they come to town, and it is a fantastic show. And I don't care what anybody says, like that show is packed, and when he starts playing that or Something to Believe in,
Yeah.
or you know, anything else that they're sort of known for, like the crowd just loses their mind. And they put on a great show, and that song when they play that, I mean, it's just the whole crowd is just completely encapsulated in everything that's going on with that band. And CC and his guitar solo, I mean, it just crushes. Like that thing is so good. Yeah, I mean, it's Poison, and that's fantastic.
Well, this was awesome, dude. We got through 5 and an honorable mention. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that if we were to do this tomorrow, the list might be different.
It will be for sure.
I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of surprised that we didn't have a Tesla song. I'm surprised we didn't have a Bon Jovi song.
You could contend that it was a little surprising to not have a Firehouse song, because I feel like Firehouse is known for nothing but their ballads.
That's
right?
true.
And they had some really good ones. So if one of those had snuck in the honorable mention, I don't think either one of us would have batted an eye.
For sure.
So.
Well, hey, one of these days we'll have to, again, we'll have to do Van Halen. We'll have to do kind of lyrics. We'll have to do, you know, I think one of the lists I think that we can do would be just albums, right? That you can listen to from beginning to end, because that's a hard list, especially when you take out greatest hits albums.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, greatest hits couldn't count. Like we wouldn't let those in, but I'm pretty sure that you and I would have at least 2 albums that would align in that top 5, and some really good ones there. So yes, I mean, sign me up, man. Next time we can do this, let's do that, or let's switch to something else. We can move to movies, or we can move to pop culture, whatever makes more sense. I'm game.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for joining us. Thank you, sir, for joining me. This was amazing. And we will talk to you very soon, because we are not anywhere close to being done.
You got it. All right. Love you, brother.
Love you too.